Welcome to Real Judaism with Rabbi Klapper. Unfiltered wisdom for Jewish life.
Im kain, evo ech lo yitzarech lo hotzi zman ala iyun hazeh ladas amitas hadvarim ladas haderech likdos l'kaimam. How can a person not take the time to think about the most important things in the world in order to make them part of himself? How can you not do that? This is your life. Where are you going to get the chachma that you need if you don't search for it? Since it's very clear for any person who understands what avodas Hashem is about, will know that you need to work on yourself. A person needs to work on his midos. He needs to work on his relationship with Ribbon Shalom, to cleanse himself, to purify himself. And if a person doesn't do that, so then this is not a quality of avodas Hashem. Right? We come here to the base measures to learn Torah. Why do we learn Torah? Why does a person come and learn Torah? Because Hashem wants us to. Hashem wants us to learn Torah. Hashem wants us to do mitzvahs also. So why are we spending all our day just running around doing mitzvahs? Why do we spend our day learning Torah? We know Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam. And it's what we'll call the Jewish people's national pastime, is to learn Torah. That's what Hashem wants us spending our time learning Torah. But learning Torah, although it's important, we know that Gadol Torah shemevi lidei ma'aseh. The purpose of learning Torah is to come to a better avodas Hashem. And part of that is learning how to work on oneself, to improve oneself in order so that all aspects of their avodas Hashem become better. And if a person doesn't spend the time to do that, well, how in the world are they going to, how are they going to improve? Like he said in the very beginning, many of these concepts we know already. The idea isn't to know, you have to have good midos. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for teaching me something. You can't get angry. You shouldn't really be jealous of other people. Being a Baal Gaiva, arrogance, and these things are not good midos. Oh, okay, like big kiddush. You told me all these things. Wow, I didn't know that. Of course, everybody knows that. But yet, people have these problems all the time. So, how do I change that? I know it's wrong, but how do I change it? The person's only going to be able to change it if they work on it. And that means spending time. It means spending time thinking about it, going over it again and again, even though I know it already. Hashem looks into every person's heart. Hashem knows every person's Yetzer Hara. Person does an Aveira and he says, it's okay for me. It's okay for me. Hashem understands it's hard for me. Hashem will forgive me. No, for me it's not an Aveira because Hashem knows how hard it is for me. All of these things come because a person doesn't really understand or is not focused on what his avodas Hashem really is. Because all of these things are just made up by the Yetzer Hara just so that I can do whatever I want. That is not the Ratzon Hashem. Hashem wants you to work on it. Yes, we can't change our midos in 1 second. Right? Chazal tell us it's harder. It's easier maybe to learn all of Shas and to change one midah. But that doesn't pater you from working on your midos. It doesn't say, it's too hard for me, so I don't have to do it. That's not true at all. A person has to put in the time. What's a person going to answer? What's a person going to say on Yom Tochecha, meaning on the day that he comes to stand in front of the Ribono Shel Olam, and Hashem is going to be dan him? And he's going to say, why did you do this? Why did you not do that? What's the person going to say back? Something that is so important. It is the main point of our lives. And we just disregard it. We totally ignore it. Our avodas Hashem. Our avodas Hashem means our avodas midos. It means working on our panemius. It means bringing out who we really are. How are we going to do that? How if a person doesn't take the time to focus on that, it's just not going to ever happen. People are scared of themselves. People are very scared of looking in the mirror and saying, hey, am I really living up to the person I should be? Am I really that person that I know I could be? People are terrified of doing that. And do anything besides for that. Nobody wants to say that to themselves, even though that's the best possible thing you could do, because if you face yourself, and even if you're disappointed in the person that you are, it's the first step to becoming the person you really should be. A person will only get to that point, will raise themselves up, is if they're willing to take the time to stop and, hey, I need to work on myself. I need to spend the time to do that. And if a person never does it, they'll never get anywhere. It's hard, but that first step is the hardest. Once a person is willing to do that, so now he needs, maybe he needs some kind of guidance. Well, now how do I do it? I'm willing to do it. You're taking that first big step. It's a big step to do. But that's what life's about. That is life. A person can go their whole lives and they're working much, much more on their bank account than they're working on themselves. You know, there's something in the world called a midlife crisis. A midlife crisis, it's probably about my age. You call me about midlife, right? And this person wakes up one day and he's like, who am I? And it's not like he got amnesia and he just like, well, like, you know, somebody hit him in the head and he forgot who he was. But he comes to a realization that I'm just not happy. I'm not happy with who I am. It happens to a lot of people. And because of what? Yeah, it could not happen. If a person does that work when they're young, so they've already developed themselves, I know exactly who I want to be.
Part of it is like that they realize that.
Right. Exactly. A person's gotten to a certain point in their life and like, what have I accomplished? Well, look at my bank account. You see how many cars I have. You see how much money is in my bank. Wow, that's really a wonderful thing for your bank account.
It's 20. He's like, I got plenty of time. So he's like, it doesn't matter that I didn't accomplish anything.
That's right. That's right. If we do this when we're young, then when you get to that point in your midlife or even older, you won't be ashamed of what you've done, because your focus has already been my whole time on developing myself. And it's easier to do this when you're young than when you're old. People who do this when they're old, a lot of times go way off, and all kinds of crazy things can happen. I know one particular story where this guy, his wife, I don't know, she was probably terrified when this guy went way off. You know, some people will just buy a convertible or something like that. You know, they need to do something else. So they're, you know, who knows? Who knows what a person can do? It's scary. If a person has a wife and children, has a family, and all of a sudden they don't start acting normally because they just are totally upset with who they are as people, who knows what they'll do? They could totally leave their wife and kids. They could. What? He became a little, abyssal hippie-ish. Yeah? But I think overall, in the end, he turned out okay. I think. I don't really know 100% because we kind of lost touch. But during that tekufa, during that span when he was going through it, I can just imagine what his wife was dealing with. Tremendous fear. What's going to be? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to my life? If a person would develop themselves, take the times beforehand when they're young and they're still developing, and focus on becoming with a person who I really want to be, so then this wouldn't happen later on. If they're doing it right now, when they're focusing on it and they're getting guidance, hadracha, for how to be that way, so then by the time they get older, they won't have the same like, oh my gosh, I just wasted half my life. It won't happen. Because I've been thinking about this for years. What's the most important thing in life is you. I need to be me. I need to reach my potential. I need to be the person that Hashem wanted me to be. If I don't take the time to work on that and think about that, who will? You'll never get there until a point in life where you wake up and you're like, wow, I just wasted half my life. I don't know. Like, what's my purpose? What am I here for? I'm just here to make money? That's my whole purpose in life? I really feel bad for those people, because at a certain point, they feel it themselves and they realize other people look at them like that too. All they are is a big dollar bill. That's a terrible way to feel. Yeah? It's a terrible, terrible feeling to think that I have no friends. People only like me because of my money. It's a terrible thing. Nobody wants to feel like that. All I've been doing my whole life is developing my bank account and not developing myself. as a person, so then the person can easily come to that conclusion. Whereas you can have another person who is very, very wealthy, but people respect them as a person. Is somebody who it's not the money that draws people, it's that this person really is a good person. He's a developed person. You see, he knows how to use his money as a tool because he spent the time working on himself. And you can have somebody who doesn't have necessarily a lot of money, but he's a person who's very well developed, very thought out, and has a mahalach in life, and he gives that over. He doesn't necessarily even have to be a rebbe. A person who has a good mahalach in life can give that off and be a role model to a lot of people, even without teaching, giving a shiur, even without necessarily be teaching Torah. Just be by the way that they carry themselves and the way they act in business or in the street or anything like that, is to act as a role model, to be the person for other people. That comes from developing yourself as a person. That's what we have to spend our time doing. Okay, we'll stop over here.
Thank you for joining Real Judaism, where we explore Torah's wisdom for real life. Created by J Foundations and produced by Eli Podcast Productions. Find more episodes at realjudaism.org and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.